What's up everyone? Quick update for you for the channel this baseball season. I have already uploaded this video to my personal channel early, and that is where I will be uploading any type of video essay style baseball video from now on. So if you want to see those, please go check out TCSTrey. Link will be in the description. As for the podcast, that will be coming back soon. When Pitchers and Catchers Report, we will be recording our first episode, and that will remain here as well as any Nationals related videos. That will stay on District Baseball. Any other type of video essay style baseball video will go on my channel, TCSTrey. Anyways, go subscribe over there, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace. Well, here we are. The Dodgers have ruined baseball, right?
No.
What's going on, everybody? TC Sports here, bringing you a video about Major League Baseball and some of the signings that have been going on this offseason, specifically those of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Baseball social media is absolutely falling apart right now, which may be a net positive for society, but the reason is a bit silly. They're mad that the Dodgers keep signing players, and some people are even saying that the 2025 season doesn't matter because clearly the Dodgers are the best team and they will win the World Series, so why even play the season? And I'm just confused by it. I get that these posts are reactionary and emotional, but if people stop to think about it for a second, they'd realize that the best team in baseball doesn't always win the World Series, nor does the team that spends the most money. So today, let's discuss just exactly what the Dodgers did to piss off the entire baseball community. The Dodgers have had a very active offseason as per usual. They have signed these players to these contracts in the 2024 offseason alone. That's a lot of money. And when you add it to their existing contracts, they have by far the highest payroll in baseball at this time. Although there's plenty of big name guys still available, so maybe it'll get even higher. A big problem people seem to have with LA right now is that not only are they the top spending team, but they are outspending the second highest team by a lot. They do have $70 million more towards their luxury tax payroll than the second highest team, the Phillies, so maybe these fans have a point. Until you realize that this has been done many times, most recently the 2023 New York Mets. I feel like we as a society have the memories of a goldfish at this point because it was not that long ago that the 2023 Mets were seen as buying a championship. How could Manfred allow this? Woe is me. Anyways, how'd that team do? They went 75 and 87, missed the playoffs. They traded most of their roster before August. Okay. Huh. Now that's funny. I wonder how often the top spending team in baseball doesn't win the World Series. Literally almost every time. A lot of people seem to be forgetting that the Dodgers did not have the highest opening day payroll last year. 2023, Rangers, 9th highest opening day payroll, plus 5,000 preseason World Series odds, champion. 2022 Astros, 11th highest opening day payroll, plus 800 preseason World Series odds, champions. 2021 Braves, 13th highest opening day payroll, plus 1,000 preseason World Series odds, champions. What about those top spending teams in those years? Well, we already went over the 2023 Mets. The 2022 top spending team was the Dodgers, who did not win the World Series, and the 2021 most spending team was the Dodgers, who did not win the World Series. I'm sensing a pattern here. There's no precedent that states that the Dodgers will win the World Series simply because they've spent the most money. Also, you'll notice that the Dodgers spent the most money in 6 out of 10 of the past 10 seasons, and they didn't win a World Series in any of them. You just can't predict the season before it happens. And even when we get to playoff time and we know which team has the best record, that team has gone on to win the World Series less than half the time. That includes the 104-win 2023 Braves, who hit the most home runs in baseball history, and the 111-win 2022 Dodgers, who became just the second National League team ever to win 110 games, both bounced in the divisional series. Having said all that, you do have to spend some amount of money to win a World Series. They don't need to be the #1 spending New York Yankees every year, but you have to make some kind of financial effort to win. Once again, only 2 teams in the past 20 years have won the World Series with a bottom half payroll. The 2015 Royals, who were 16th and did have a payroll over $100 million, and the 2017 Astros, who only got to that position due to a generational tanking effort and some trash cans in the clubhouse. Every team can afford to spend more money in free agency. As much as the Dodgers, that's a bit more complicated. The main point you'll hear about the Dodgers right now is that nobody else can spend like them. The correct term would be not everyone can spend like the Dodgers. I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you that the Milwaukee Brewers or the Cincinnati Reds are the same thing as the Los Angeles Dodgers. LA has clear advantages that those cities do not have. They've got great weather all year round. They have celebrity endorsements. They have a way higher population, and they have a better TV deal. I'm not silly, I know. But there are a good number of them that could if they really wanted to. Here's a list of MLB market size scores. These were released after the most recent CBA negotiation for revenue sharing purposes. Now, each team is given TV money, but some teams get more than others based on their local TV deal. These are based on the team's regional sports network, where 100 is an average TV market size, not exactly the size of their fan base. TV deals tend to be the most lucrative aspect of a team's revenue pool, along with ticket sales. For example, the Cardinals fan base is spread out pretty wide in the Midwest. They got all of Missouri, a large chunk of Arkansas, and Illinois, and even parts of Tennessee, but only fans in the immediate St. Louis area get access to their cable network, so they don't have a great TV deal compared to the size of their fan base. Any number above 100 on this list means you're making pretty damn good money off of your TV deal, and you must pay into the revenue sharing pool, while teams that have a score below 100, they receive money from that pool. You may have noticed a team near the top that sticks out like a sore thumb, the Chicago White Sox, who recently lost the most games in an MLB season ever. They make so much money off of their TV market that they have to supplement the payrolls of other franchises, yet Jerry Reinsdorf could not be bothered to supplement his own payroll. The Boston Red Sox are operating like they're about to go bankrupt or something, and the Angels are probably about to never sign another free agent again. The A's are just now starting to spend money, thanks to a grievance that was filed years ago that would force them to spend because they have a top 10 regional sports network. Meanwhile, there's Houston at number 3, St. Louis at number 11, Arizona at 14, San Diego at 15. These teams don't have the same TV deals, but they can still spend the money. Why is that? It's pretty simple. Ownership priorities. Not every team is trying to win a championship. In fact, most of them aren't. A lot of owners see their teams as an asset, which in a business sense it is, but business sense and championship sense don't always go together. Let's go back to those 2023 Mets, for example. They made a lot of money that year, but they actually didn't profit. They lost about $200+ million in revenue. And Steve Cohen doesn't care, and neither should you. It ain't your money, it's the money of some grimy hedge fund manager. Why should you care where it goes? His team lost 87 games and was a complete failure. And he's gonna do it again, because you cannot win a championship without risking monetary loss. You just can't. Sometimes you have to take a short-term L to get a long-term W. And when you do spend the money and win the championship, congratulations, you just found the infinite money glitch. 1. Postseason TV revenue is larger than the regular season and grows exponentially the further the team goes. 2. Packed stadiums filled with fans buying concessions and playoff merchandise on top of the ticket sales. 3. Championship value added to the franchise. This is the most important one. Like I said, these teams are seen as large, appreciating assets, and the more you put into said asset, the more it's going to sell for later on, because at the end of the day, none of these owners are using their baseball franchises as their main source of income. They all had some other revenue stream that they had to use to even be eligible to purchase a team in the first place. I think people have this small business mindset sometimes, and they think about profit margins a little too much with these teams, when in reality, that dude is going to be pocketing billions of dollars from his real estate investments, or his tobacco company, or pizza. And he's going to do that way before he even looks at his baseball team's financials. They're all making money from another source, and most every franchise is also making a profit as a franchise, and from revenue sharing, they just choose not to spend it. Not all of them can be the Dodgers, but they can all certainly do more, and the Brewers are the perfect example of this. The Brewers continue to put up competitive teams year after year for a while now. They've made the playoffs 6 of the last 7 seasons. They've had an MVP and a Cy Young in that time, and they ranked in the top half of MLB in attendance last year. While their TV market is very small, they'll receive a larger amount in revenue sharing because of it, and seemingly have been for a while now, which is why it's so frustrating that they refuse to add to the payroll. Last year's team won the division with a solid lineup, great defense, and a duct-tape pitching rotation and bullpen that somehow survived the season despite not having any pitcher receive Cy Young votes. But that doesn't hold up in the playoffs where they were bounced by the Mets in the wild card round. In that series, they lost Game 1 8-4, and Freddie Peralta was their starting pitcher for Game 1. Now, Freddie Peralta can be a great pitcher, but is he an ace caliber starter on a playoff rotation? No. You know what? You know what kind of guy you really want? You want a guy like Corbin Burns. Man, where can we find one of those? Oh yeah, they had to trade him before the season started because they refused to entertain extension talks. Instead, he was busy throwing 7 innings of 1-run ball for the Orioles on the exact same day. Maybe could have used that. I don't know. The 2018 playoffs may have been worse. They made it all the way to the National League Championship Series, and who do they run out there to start? Past his prime Gio Gonzalez and Wade Miley? Jhoulys Chacin started Game 7 of an NLCS. Jhoulys Chacin! They used an opener 3 times in that series and still took it to 7 games. Could you imagine if they had one, count 'em, one starting pitcher signed? Again, my point isn't to say that the Brewers should be spending $300 million in offseason like the Dodgers can, although they also could if they really wanted to, but rather to say that they could and should contribute more to their payroll, especially considering the revenue sharing aspect. For all of their success last year, the Brewers have only signed 1 player to a major league contract for a combined negative 0.8 F-WAR. The Pirates have the most exciting pitching prospect we have seen in years, and they haven't even attempted to talk extensions with him. The Marlins have received a staggering $70 million in revenue sharing. They have spent $0. It is almost f***ing February. Do you get it yet? Are there potential penalties for operating like this? Sure, there is a grievance system, but those take a long time to conclude, and owners would rather just keep their money in the short term than worry about a grievance. Another issue fans seem to be having with the Dodgers is that they are deferring large sums of money on these contracts. If you look at Shohei Ohtani's contract, he signed for 10 years, $700 million. He will only receive $2 million per year from 2024 to 2033, and the rest will be paid out from 2034 to 2043 if the world hasn't spontaneously combusted by then. That money must be committed to the contract within 2 years of signing. In other words, it must be put into an escrow account until it can be released to Ohtani in 2034. They can't just find the money later. It's essentially like he's already been paid. Now, why would both sides agree to this? Well, in Ohtani's case, he is a special player with a lot of endorsement deals already, so he's already pretty loaded. He doesn't really need this money right now. Most players don't like deferred payments because they want that money up front so they can invest it themselves, but Ohtani doesn't really operate in the same way as most other MLB players, so he's kind of a special case. Instead, if he waits to be paid out later on, he can avoid California taxes because he'll be living in Japan. From the team's perspective, they are able to offer more total money to the player using the deferral system because they collect interest on the money when it's in escrow. And also, that $680 million to Ohtani will be $680 million in 2034. Therefore, it will have less value due to inflation. It also allows them to get a discount on his luxury tax payroll. Instead of $70 million, it's $46+ million per year. And honestly, if you want to argue that they should be forced to pay the full amount, the full $70 per year towards the luxury tax threshold, I honestly wouldn't hate that. I get why that's kind of an issue. However, remember that the Dodgers would not have been able to offer this contract without the deferrals. If the Dodgers had to offer Ohtani 10 years, $700 million, straight up, no deferrals, no caveats, they would not have done it. Instead, the AAV would probably be closer to like $50 to $55 million a year. So a little bit closer to that $46 million figure from the luxury tax. Although, again, if you think that it should be the exact amount, I can't really dispute that. That brings me to the salary floor and salary cap debate, because there are an egregious amount of people on the internet that want a salary cap in MLB, and to those people I just say, what are you, a f***ing communist? Should I go get a hammer and sickle pin for you too? Should I dig up Joseph McCarthy, start the Red Scare Part 2? Should we seize the means of production? Stalin? Never say never, but I can't see a floor and cap system being integrated into MLB anytime soon. Theoretically, there should be a floor and no cap, but the owners will never agree to that because you have owners like Bob Nutting who pocket all the revenue sharing money. So before you get mad at these guys, get mad at these guys. Now, having said that, we can do two things at once. Let's multitask by disliking the owner who doesn't spend any money, and also the Dodgers for spending a ton of it. The thing about big market super teams is that their fans love them. They love them a lot. They love them so much that they want you to know just how good they are. They love them so much that they will go to war for them in the comments of social media. And then the actual media loves them, and they promote them more, and in some cases, they also go to war for them. And with generational levels of glazing will come generational levels of hating. Pretty sure that's in the Bible. Do you remember the evil empire? I was too young to remember all of it, but the 90s and 2000 Yankees were an absolute force, something we've never seen any other time in the modern age. They spent more money than everybody, by far, and there were certainly people back then who criticized their methods as well, just like there are people that criticize the Dodgers now. They were nicknamed the Evil Empire for a reason. They were absolutely hated. So why does every single baseball fan reminisce about that era as one of the most memorable parts of baseball history? It wasn't just because of how the Yankees won, but also how they lost. The 2001 World Series is known as one of the greatest to ever take place. It is far more famous and culturally relevant in baseball than any of the championships those Yankees did win in the 90s, because an expansion team, in their 4th season ever, walked in there and took down a dynasty. It was David versus Goliath. The reason we watch sports is to see other human beings fight against the odds to achieve greatness. Think about that series if it wasn't the big bad villain Yankees. Still extremely impressive for an expansion team to do that. But is it as memorable? No. The expansion Marlins taking them down in 0-3, finishing the series in Yankee Stadium. Boston's 3-0 comeback. And then a redemption championship 09 season as a last hurrah for their veterans who stuck around with some newer, younger pieces, similar to the Spurs or Lakers in the 2000s. By the way, that Diamondbacks team sucked in their first year as an expansion franchise. So what did they do? They traded for players. They signed 6 free agents that offseason to over $100 million in 1999. I don't know what that would be today, but I know it would be more. And these were not slam dunk free agents either. This was a 35-year-old Randy Johnson, a trade for a 32-year-old Luis Gonzalez, and a 34-year-old Steve Finley. These moves were risky, very risky. We need to remember who Randy Johnson was before this contract. He was an amazing pitcher, but he was pretty inconsistent and wild. He only had 1 Cy Young at this point. Signs in Arizona, wins 4 Cy Youngs in a row, and a World Series. And the owner who put all this in motion sold his ownership stake in 2004 for what I'm assuming is a massive profit. Otherwise, he would not have sold if he didn't have to. Point being, you can't just sit on your hands. You have to make moves and sign contracts that might not work out in the long run. If your goal isn't to win a championship, sell the team. Before finishing my thoughts, I do want to discuss the Sasaki issue because this is where there is kind of a problem, not necessarily with the Dodgers, but the international signing system as a whole. Roki Sasaki is a Japanese pitcher who is already seen as an elite baseball player, period, MLB or NPB. Normally an international free agent with this much hype would get a massive contract, like his teammate Yoshinobu Yamamoto did last year. But MLB rules state that any player under 25 is considered an amateur and thus must complete a standard 6 years of service time before electing free agency. For example, Ohtani. Shohei came to the Angels as a 23-year-old for just over a $2 million signing bonus. He was able to choose the team he liked. The difference is that he started that trend and was seen as much more of a risk. There was a much different perception of talent from Japan before Shohei came over to MLB. Now we know that Japan has definitely gained ground on Major League Baseball in terms of the talent. There's no mystery here. It's almost a guarantee that Sasaki will live up to this contract because it's really not that much in terms of dollar amounts for someone of his talent level. And having him be an amateur free agent is the problem. During the international signing period, teams give a lot of money to teenagers. Technically, those kids get to pick where they sign to, but there is absolutely zero guarantees that 1, that player will work out, and 2, that player will ever get another contract offer again. When that offer goes on the table, they sign it, because that signing bonus is what gets them and their family out of poverty. Sasaki doesn't really have that problem. He's played professionally in Japan for 4 seasons, and he played for Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic against Major League All-Stars and flourished, meaning there's really no risk to signing him. I think MLB is going to have to adjust their definition of the word amateur because this is going to happen again. Players that are drafted out of college around the same age as him don't get to pick where they play. Why should he? That's kind of the comparison. Imagine Sasaki as a 4-year college athlete, but instead he gets to just pick where he wants to go. And even high college picks are probably more risky than Sasaki is. But again, this isn't really a Dodgers-specific problem, it's more of a rule issue, and even then, it's still kind of an unprecedented signing. Nothing like this has ever really happened, so they didn't have a precedent for it. So those are my thoughts on the matter. Just remember that the season is not over, and even if the Dodgers do go on to start a dynasty and win a bunch of championships, there will be another team that rises up and takes them down. It's why we play the games. Peace.